Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Innovation and Tech segment, today we're featuring my dear friend, Brian J. Esposito, ranked among the world's top 10 CEOs 3 years in a row. He's the founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, an award-winning serial entrepreneur, of course, and business leader. EIE currently consists of over 108 entities, over 200 joint ventures that have been accumulated around the world and proudly operate in over 25 industries. They have an arsenal of IP, technology, products, solutions, and services supported by exceptional management, accounting, compliance, legal, and private security. Today, he joins me in house to chat about innovation, music, sports, the metaverse, and the disruptive emerging industries making investors a ton of money. Now, to help you get a sense of how vague the term the metaverse can be, here's an exercise. Mentally replace the phrase the metaverse in a sentence with cyberspace. 90% of the time, the meaning won't substantially change. And that's because the term doesn't really refer to any one specific type of technology, but rather a broad and often speculative shift in how we interact with technology. And in fact, I say that it's entirely possible that the term itself will eventually become just as antiquated, even as if the specific technology it once described becomes commonplace. Now we're going to welcome to the show the amazing Brian Esposito. Before we get started, my friend, welcome to iHeartRadio.
Thank you, Zan. Appreciate being here so much.
Absolutely. So let's chat music, entertainment, and IPXYZ.network. So I went through this IPXYZ, and they are clearly leveraging the power of Web3 to ultimately allow artists control over their music copyrights. And of course, this is going to boost ongoing profits and discover the limitless, really new limitless business opportunities here, because this is where we're headed in this industry. But the problem with the music industry is that more creators and co-creators enter the market each day, and most of them can't sustain their activity. Centralized structures in the music business and data economy lead to hardship and devaluation of IP assets. Creators do not control their own destiny, even though legal framework is in place. And current revenue models are inhibitive to value creation. So tell me, Brian, how is IPXYZ the solution?
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up and that great overview. What we've done with IPXYZ is put the power into the creators' hands. For the first time ever, they're going to have a real dashboard as to where their music is being consumed, how it's being consumed, what country, which region, and actually have full control and ownership of their IP on an hourly, real-time basis. We're able to do that because amazing experts in industry leaders such as Stefan Schultz, my co-founder, and John Carras, Thibaut Moore, and these are people that have led digital rights and the evolution of the music industry since the late 90s up until today. Music industry, like many other industries, it really is a relationship-based play. You can't make major moves in banking, some sports, gambling, and music unless you know the right people, get blessed to be able to do things like this. And the timing is now, the power is now. There's over 100 million creators out in the world that are putting music out into the world or some sort of content and IP. There's over 200,000 new IP pieces of music content created each day. Is a massive amount of content. Now, to have a dashboard like this that's not centralized, that's able to cross-platform, because in reality, Sony doesn't talk to Warner, Warner doesn't talk to Universal. Everything is so siloed, and in order to properly value that music and that IP and how it's being consumed, you need something like this. The music industry needs something like this, and we're going to prove that the music industry is completely undervalued because it doesn't know where this music is being consumed and properly monetized. So when these catalogs are being sold for tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, we think there's a lot of money being left on the table. And we're also giving a beautiful tool for independent artists that are going into this field to have all of their IP in one location, to do it right from the beginning, and to have complete ownership of that IP, along with whoever they may have co-written that lyric with or that music with.
I love it. IPXYZ, baby. Let's take it home. And so what you're saying is it's this creator-centric, secure, open platform to protect, manage, and basically monetize all their IP and data, with their peers in real time anywhere in the world. It's fantastic, and that's the kind of disruptive, emerging industry technology that I love to hear about. Now let's chat sports, entertainment, and the metaverse. Now, one of the companies in your portfolio is metasportsarena.com. bringing novel capabilities to the traditional ways sports teams and entertainers and brands and fans interact with each other. Another one of my favorites. So, Metasport Arena is a company behind Sam Arena. And Sam Arena is the first sports and entertainment Binance blockchain based metaverse. How long do you think, Brian, it will be before mass adoptions? And are these tech startups generating any real return on investment just yet?
So, great question. When I go into businesses or get behind businesses like Metasport Arena, I always look at the founders, their vision, their experience, and what they're trying to accomplish. And I no longer do anything in the hopes of having a return. We actually build in real life, realistic business models that generate earnings, put businesses on a positive momentum for cash flow and growing from those cash flows. Getting these startups off of this raise money, running out of money, raise money, running out of money hamster wheel, where ultimately they have no more equity left to raise. They're working for their investors and they lost complete control of their business. What I love about Metasport Arena and their founder, Julian Savad, is an amazing, beautiful person, an incredible story of why he wanted to create this and bring experiences to sick children. Originally, he unfortunately went through an awful situation where his wife was pregnant with twins. He was in the hospital. There was just a bad outcome. One of them had lost their life, but he saw all of these kids in that hospital wing that were looking out their window, and he saw like they're not going to experience life. They're not going to experience great moments in music and sports. So that's when he set off of his other path, working with Formula One and other great industries like European football, to create Metasport Arena. So he had me hooked. Like, what can we do to actually make this viral, realistic, and actually make a difference? And what I love about this play is that anybody can access it from any device. You don't have to have the expensive VR goggles, because that's the biggest hurdle to barrier right now is how do you experience the metaverse and all these great experiences if you don't have the equipment, or you feel inferior, you don't feel confident with it, you don't know how to use it, and you ultimately give up. So step one to get what you're saying for mass adoption, you can access it from any desktop, laptop, or mobile device. And then it's building cities around sport. Just like every major city, there's a stadium there and there's businesses that are thriving. There's restaurants. There's all different types of other experiences around that stadium. And those other businesses have ancillary benefits when there's a show in town, when there's a sporting event. So replicating real life experiences in the metaverse is the first step to getting people to understand it, that it's no different than walking around in real life. The key is, and how I always have to loop it back into real life, people need to drink water, they need to eat real food, and they need to buy real clothes. You can't live in the metaverse 24/7. So how do we enhance experiences for brands in Metasport Arena? How do we engage fan base and have a better experience for that game or that music event? And how do we bring them back something in real life? So that's the loop. It's got to fall back in real life. It's got to enhance the entire model and the experience. And I'm often telling companies, don't throw out that you're in Web3. Don't throw out that you're in a metaverse if you can't properly support it. The communities in that world, they will abandon your brand in real life if you're not actually participating correctly, not necessarily handling over your social media leads and your digital advertising people. They're not necessarily the right people that should handle your brand in the metaverse. You need to go out and cultivate and bring in new talent to handle that segment, because it is an
Entirely different world.
entirely
Yeah,
different
you
world.
said it. And Forbes named the metaverse, in fact, one of the top 10 trends anybody must be ready for in 2023. Global spending on VR AR, the metaverse's foundation technology, is expected to rise from, are you ready, 12 billion, which was the number in 2020, to 73 billion by 2024. Now, because of this, obviously, leaders in industries like gaming and retail and arts and healthcare and blockchain are determining how to position themselves, to your point, as critical players in this emerging ecosystem. And you need to be a critical player, otherwise you lose. So let's chat virtual stacks. Okay, so virtual stacks are digital trading cards verified on blockchain and issued by talented people from various industries on the exchange. And the exchange is the first global exchange for backing talent, essentially, accessible through the Stacks app. And the exchange basically provides people, to my understanding, with the opportunity to fund their own dreams, monetize their popularity, and cultivate a following of loyal fans who can participate in their journey to the top. So fans can buy and sell and trade and collect the digital trading cards through the Stacks app. Now, to my understanding, whether you're a rising star or a superstar, everyone can leverage virtual stacks to create this awesome digital experience that essentially the platform is selling. But people from all passions of life, right, be it athletes and actors or celebrities or musicians or influencers and entrepreneurs, are able to issue their own stacks. But how can one benefit from a stack's ownership as a fan? That's what I want to know.
Great questions. Virtual Stacks is one of my favorite holdings, one of my largest holdings. It's supported and powers Turncoin, which is the first of its kind registered SEC digital security. So we've spent 5 years, 28 million in private strategic capital building this correctly, working with regulatory and building the business model, which you mentioned is Virtual Stacks. We have the full support of icons as our ambassadors like Patrick Mahomes, Von Miller, Cam Jordan, Drew Brees. We announced Luke Bryan as our music ambassador. And so when you launch a platform like this and you want to do it correctly and do something that's never been done before, you have to make sure you have all the legal blessings across multiple countries to be able to operate. We've achieved that. Then, to answer your question, you need to have credibility and giant reach. And we've achieved that with these great ambassadors that are supporting us and believing us. And they do believe, and they've vocalized it, that this is the future of how you enhance and empower rising stars. So if you are a Mahomes, it's a great new liquidity event, new revenue stream for you to connect to your fan base. You have given the opportunity to hold that virtual trading card, to have a closer proximity, other utilities and perks, and also benefit in the upside and the supply and demand of his career to continue to excel and people to want more and more of him, i.e. more and more ownership of those virtual stacks. Therefore, the share price should go up or that virtual stacks trading card should go off. Now, why I got involved and what I loved about it is what you were talking about the amateurs and novices in the world. To me, I look at it like it's a GoFundMe and a person going public in the same regulated exchange platform where they can issue virtual trading cards of themselves. So if they're not yet a Patrick Mahomes, but they want to be the next Mahomes and they're in high school, they can issue virtual trading cards to their local community, their fan base, their friends, their family, coaches, teachers, and say, hey, back me, support me. I am going to continue to go after my career and dreams, and I'm not going to give up on it, and I need your financial support. So people that are backing them, they're part of their journey now. They're actually with them. Rather than just liking a post that they put on Instagram or seeing a great YouTube clip of them, they can actually be part of their journey. And as that player's popularity increases and their demand increases, the price of that virtual trading card would increase because more and more people want it. So as you're backing people and scouting people and giving people the opportunity to succeed, you actually can have a financial upside if they make it and when they make it. And this applies to every aspect of life. You want to be the next Billy Joel and be the greatest piano player, but you got no money for a keyboard or lessons, you throw some virtual stacks into our platform and bring in some money. You want to be the next Derek Jeter, you have no money for a mint, same exact model. You just
Brilliant.
go. And you convert likes into dollars.
Brilliant. Now, it's got me thinking so many more questions, but I only have like 4 minutes left. So now I'm going to chat revenue streams that you're just obviously talking about, these incredible revenue streams, right? So everyone is talking about how celebrities are jumping on the blockchain, metaverse, crypto world, NFT, whatnot. But some say beware. They say the metaverse introduces innovative ways for musicians, of course, to monetize their work, from virtual merchandise to NFTs and in-world sponsorships. And these new revenue streams, to your point, they supplement traditional income sources and they help artists really achieve financial sustainability in this ever-changing industry landscape. And it's really ever-changing. Now, while the support from numerous A-list celebrities expedited the NFT boom in 2021 and 2022, some promoted unvetted projects to fans without knowing if they were legitimate or scams. And they ended up in a ton of heat. Often this is referred to as NFT shilling. Now, we clearly need more regulation here, Brian. What do you say to this?
I mean, it's great that the foundation was based. I mean, I think the boom happened for multiple reasons. There was a global shutdown, so people were thriving to do something. So that was a big reason why that exploded so quickly, and those communities were built so quickly because people were trapped in their home. So you had that happening, which made a huge impact into the industry. Secondly, a lot of talent, and I talked about this even when Kim Kardashian got into some heat about her backing one of those tokens or those cryptocurrencies. It's not their fault. It goes into their management. They don't have the right legal advocates that understand the space. So a lot of celebrities got pushed into an opportunity where they're taking the heat, but it really was not their fault. There was a movement happening. There was excitement. There was no games going on. There was no concerts being played. There was no real life events. So this was another way for these celebrities or icons to be able to connect with their fan base, and more importantly, keep bringing them money because they tend to have expensive lifestyles, and they don't want to see the spout stop spitting out water. So that's what happened. But going forward, which is why I always surround myself with the proper legal, accounting, and compliance dear friend and colleague, and even our chief legal officer at Virtual Stacks and Turncoin, Mr. Roel Campos, previous commissioner of the SEC. There's always opportunities out there. Just be smart about it. Ask questions, and if don't feel stupid if you don't know the answer, or you don't want to ask the question. Surround yourself with people that understand what you can and cannot do. Never operate in a gray area and think you can just throw your hands up and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." It's enough education. There's enough experience. There's enough literature out there. If something's a security, it's pretty black and white. If it generates some kind of return, it's an asset base. It's backed by something. Very obvious what's a security and what is not. Now, I love the NFT idea. I love what it can do for fan bases and a close proximity to maybe a celebrity or an icon, but it's got to provide real value. It's got to provide some sort of real utility that gives it something of substance. And all access pass to maybe something that's noise. That didn't have legs, as we saw, which is why there's been a little bit of a correction. But going forward, the model works. The technology is fantastic as far as blockchain and what you can do with these assets and in a digital asset environment. Just make sure you actually provide real value. Otherwise, the industry will fall on its face. We need every project that's going into the market to succeed
To
as
be a
much as
win.
possible.
Yeah, exactly. No more FTXs. The bad apples need to stay
Yeah.
away. And interesting, because if you talk about shilling, right, the word, it's actually a name of currency from the old
Yeah.
world English coinage from like the 17th and 18th centuries. And shill is also a word used in casinos it's been used for forever, and it's interpreted to mean like stooge. And shilling sometimes has like a bad rap to it, as the terms associated with misleading or disrupting a game, in a casino. But it's used for a gambler who plays using the casino's money in order to keep the games going when there's not sufficient players, which is an interesting analogy to the whole ecosystem of NFTs and needing mass adoptions and needing sufficient players. But I think, to your point, they did it blindly, not knowing the repercussions. And the SEC finally woke up, and the regulators said, hey, take a step back, because we need to, check some boxes here and dot some I's and cross some T's properly before we proceed. And I think mass adoption and regulation are key. Now, we have 2 minutes left. What disruptive emerging industries are you attracted to, per se, Brian? And as a CEO, how important is balancing sustainability, profitability, and adaptability within a company?
Oh, they're all equally as important. I don't get involved in, I hear unicorn, I go deaf. I think if you want to be in business, you got to have revenues. Let's go back to an old school, silly model. And if you want to stay in business, you got to be profitable. I believe bubbles burst because of nonsense valuations. You look at any high flying unicorn that IPOs, the market's never stupid. It tends to get corrected, and that IPO price tends to get whacked to a more realistic level. But going forward, I've been obsessed with communication protocols and building wireless networks ever since the Twin Towers went down, and I saw how important Nextel was. From that moment, I said there needs to always be another alternative way to connect, communicate, and locate. So from there, I got to build amazing wireless networks, connecting people that didn't rely on Wi-Fi or cellular. Nodal, one of my most coveted holdings, built the world's largest wireless network, connecting billions of IoT devices around the world. And then MetaLife, amazing company. I'm honored to co-found with Henry Wang. Henry actually coined Web3 back in 2003.
Yep.
And we're connecting devices to parts of the world that have never had traditional networks, such as cellular or Wi-Fi base stations. So we're connecting the unconnected, and we're banking the unbanked, and that's billions of people. So you look at everything that I've briefly talked about, you can see the master plan here of connecting the world on a network that's unreliant of expensive cellular or wireless connection or infrastructure. You're building content such as music IP at IPXYZ. You're distributing that content to not only first world countries, but now second world and third world countries, where these people are actually walking around with a mobile device, but they live in a hut. So,
exactly. Yeah, because you have 1.7 billion people in this world that are unbanked and or underbanked, but they all have a smartphone.
That's right.
And that smartphone, they can liquefy their cryptocurrency into fiat currency. They can be part of the world the world conference. They could move mountains at this point. They can even get microloans. I mean, the world is moving pretty fast right now. So we are out of time. Brian, it was such a pleasure chatting with you. You are amazing.
Trying to keep up with you, but I appreciate the kind words.
Well, I found my twin. Definitely check out Brian and all his amazing companies. You can head directly on his website at EIE.rocks. It's Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. He's CEO and founder. You can find him all over social media at Brian J. Esposito, Brian_J Esposito, and definitely head to virtualstacks.com, or you can check out IPXYZ.network. Now, listen, guys, the metaverse provides global reach and accessibility. Gone are the days when geographical barriers limited musicians from performing for a diverse audience. The metaverse allows artists to host virtual concerts and events that transcend borders, attracting fans from every corner of the world. This global reach expands an artist's fan base and generates revenue through ticket sales, virtual merchandise, and just so much more. Also, the metaverse provides a level playing field for independent and emerging artists to really showcase their work, bypassing traditional gatekeepers like record labels and talent agents. This empowers musicians to take control of their careers, engage with fans directly, and cultivate their unique brand identity. And that's what this is all about. That was our Innovation and Tech segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.